What's going on, Skye Squad? We are back with another video. It's your boy DJRichieSkye, and as you guys can see, I am not back at my home. Now listen, I was supposed to be home, but Delta had other plans for me. Delta had other plans for my behind, so I am still stuck here in the LA. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. So I said, you know what? Let me do my due diligence and let me get this video done because the party don't stop because Delta can't get me home, okay? But we'll deal with that later, all right? Meanwhile, I'm in this hotel room and I just watched Potomac, right? So we got to talk about exactly what happened. Now, I'm not going to touch on Watch What Happens Live. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's video. But today, we got to talk about Potomac, baby. And let me tell you something. We got another episode that I feel like, well, what do y'all rate this episode? Let me know in the chatterization. Go ahead and write it down in the chatterization what you would rate this episode. Because for me and mine, in this lavish hotel room, I'm going to give it a 10 on 10 on 10 on 10. Now, I know we just gave the last episode a 10, but this episode gets a 10 for very, very different reasons. And I feel like we got a couple of interesting revelations that I don't know that you picked up on, but we're going to dissect them, okay? Now, one of them has to do with why I believe Candiace is so triggered by Mia, okay? It occurred to me in this episode that there is some deeper thing going on with the way Candiace responds to Mia. And it became really apparent to me in this episode, or at least that's my opinion, okay? And I had said I was going to, in my mind, I said, I'm going to go into this season, hoping for a softer Candiace. But no. Candiace is right back to, her old tricks, okay? And we're going to talk about it today, okay? We're going to be honest about it. We're going to keep it real today. And, I know some of y'all not going to like it because I know some of y'all are Candiace fans. And we just got to talk about the issue. So we're going to get into it. Now, the first thing we got to talk about is this. Everybody's packing and getting ready for the trip, all right? We learned that Mia is leaving her kids home with her mama for the first time ever, okay? Now, for me, let me go ahead and let y'all know something. I'd be worried about that because, and I know the mom takes care of the sister and the sister's kids, but if your kids don't have that type of bond with somebody, even if that is grandma, I think anybody would be worried about that first time leaving the kids alone at home with them. So that's kind of major. But we also learned that Wendy is also leaving her kids, with her mama as well. So, they have a different level of relationship. But I'm just letting you know that it was two ladies on the show who was leaving their kids with their mamas, okay? Anyway, Gordon is not excited about going on this trip, because he don't want to go on this trip with some strangers. Now, as I watched this episode, in the beginning, I was thinking to myself, Gordon, I understand. I don't want to go on a trip with a whole bunch of people I don't know either, especially if I know that my wife don't get along with half of them. So for me, I'm like, I wouldn't want to go either. But now that I know what I know, I'm like, I don't understand why Gordon was worried because Gordon can talk to anybody, okay? Gordon can talk to a fire hydrant, okay, and make a conversation work. Why? Because he gonna probably do all the talking. He just got that type of personality. He can go anywhere and talk to anybody. At least it seems like when he is intoxicated, it seems like that's the case, all right? Anyway, we're going to keep it moving. We learned that Mia is ready to move forward with Candiace, but, if Candiace wants to take it back to high school, Mia is ready to go back to high school with her, okay? And hopefully it's not using that same social media manager. But anyway, I digress because I don't even know who that person is and I don't want to offend nobody. Anyway, she says that if Candiace comes at her again like that, though, she's going to be ready to fight. Famous last words, especially on this show. Okay. Anyway, Candiace and Chris, we learned that they have a rule. They're not going to talk any business after 5 p.m. And I like it. I actually really like it. I think that's very, very smart and very, very healthy for their relationship. They are looking at E1 as a potential record distribution a vehicle, which I think is great. Without going back into my history from working in PR, what I can say about E1 is that it is a very reputable record label. and they do work with a lot of major label artists. So Candiace having that type of relationship with them is actually really huge. And I'm going to say this, I'm really proud of the fact that she's been able to do that, because, you know, it tells me that she is taking this seriously and that people in the industry are taking her seriously. But it'll be interesting to see whether or not or how they will position her as an artist as compared to what we see in terms of her antics on the show. And maybe it will help and maybe it will not. Who really knows? Because I would say, for instance, it helped K. Michelle, because I feel like her time on Love and Hip Hop really kind of even helped to elevate her even more than where she was prior to. At least that's my opinion. Y'all can let me know what y'all think. Anyway, she recaps confronting Mia about Chris being on payroll and relays that she called Mia's mom low budget. And we get a lot of talk about Mia, this comment about Candiace calling Mia's mom low budget, which makes me think that behind the scenes, there was some talking to either Candiace about that comment, or this comment reverberated within the group and was really much larger than what we actually saw on the screen, or there was conversations about it within the group that we're not privy to, because everybody was talking about it in this episode, and it really seemed like a big point of contention for a lot of the ladies, okay? Then she goes in about Mia's plastic surgery, her leaky booty, and her big feet. These are Candiace's words, not mine. This is what she said about her, okay? And I start to wonder, like, she seems to have this odd obsession with Mia's feet. And I understand, like, you know, I mean, I can understand maybe if a woman is, you know, taller or whatever, and you kind of notice that maybe she has, you know, larger feet than you do. But at the end of the day, at first I thought, okay, this is fun shade. It could be fun shade, but I feel like it's borderline. Every comment is about the feet, okay? What is the obsession with the feet? Okay, just let me know what y'all think down in the comment section down below. They started talking about all the other, you know, housewives and the men that they, you know, that they like and that they don't like, and they discussed their mutual distaste for Michael, okay? That is surprising to no one. Ashley heads over to Robin's house bearing gifts. Well, it's actually just an orchid. For me, I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. I actually thought that the baby basket was a gift, okay? And I should have known better. Listen, as short as the day is long, Ashley gonna have that baby with her, okay? Cradled up in that bank, in that bassinet. Is that what it is? Was that a bassinet? I don't know. Anyway, so she get to her house. They chat about the reasonably shady party. They recap that and Candiace's low budget comment. As I said, everybody was talking about that comment in this episode. Robin says that Candiace likes to play dirty, which we already know. Then they move to Wendy, and Robin calls her an a-hole. Okay, she's still not over Wendy dismissing her relationship with Juan. We learned that Giselle had texted the group that she doesn't feel comfortable going on the trip due to Wendy's rudeness. Now, Wendy, over to Wendy's house, she's packing for the trip, and we learned that the text message group is called the Flossie Posse. Now, for me, this delighted me to no end, because as you guys know, well, you may not know this, I love the movie Girls Trip. I love the Flossie Posse. I'm ready for Girls Trip 2, to be quite honest with you. So I was really here for them labeling the group chat the Flossie Posse. And if you wonder what I'm doing right now, something is in my eye, but we're not gonna stop this part. Y'all gonna let me be great today. Okay? Anyway, I'm already stuck in LA. Ooh, don't get me started. Okay, I digress. I'm not gonna edit this out the video too, because I want y'all to understand and feel my frustration as I'm going through it. Feel it with me. Okay, anyway. And then we learned that Wendy responded to Giselle's message, and with, you know, really in a very Zen win way. Now, see, Wendy, this is the applicable time for you to bring out Zen win. This is the time when Giselle has come back in the message, you know, with some shade, you come back with love and light. That is Zen win. Not what you was given early in the season, but this is Zen win. And I like it, okay? Anyway. Then Robin responded with, have a nice trip, y'all, indicating she was not going. Shade. Michael, we learned, is not going on the trip, and Ashley wants Robin to come for her, not for the rest of the girls, and Robin is going to think about it. Let me break this thing down to y'all, because I don't know what they was trying to do. And this is not the first time that Robin and Giselle have done something like this. They tried to pull that thing back with, I think it was Monique a couple of seasons ago, where they was trying not to go on, it was trying to act like they wasn't going to go on the trip. Was it to Portugal? Was that where it was? Or South of France? I don't remember. Anyway, they was going someplace, and it wasn't Portugal. I think it was South of France or France, somewhere in France. I don't know. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And they act like they wasn't going to go. But let me tell y'all how this whole thing works. If you don't go on this cash trip, you know you're not going to get paid. Because they're not, again, like I said last week, they're not going to be following you and Robin around while the rest of the ladies are off on this trip down to the Eastern Shore / Chesapeake Bay to watch you do what? Pick your toenails and clean up your kitchen, walk around aimlessly doing nothing. Okay? Anyway. And it's interesting to me, and I love the editing in this episode because y'all don't, I mean, did y'all pick up on the fact that later on, Ray is going to joke about the hairdresser, and the hairdresser was in this episode? Now, I know that's Cal, that's Giselle's, best friend, who also does her hair. At least I think that's her best friend. But anyway, it was interesting that he got an appearance in this episode, and Ray references him later. Trust and believe. If you didn't see the episode, when I tell you about it, it's funny, okay? Anyway, Karen and Ray are waiting on Ashley. So Ray asks if Michael and Juan are coming. Karen says this. She says, after watching Robin thumb herself in Williamsburg, I don't think Juan is coming because clearly Robin is surely capable of taking care of herself, okay? And I just thought this was so funny because why does she say thumb herself? And then we get the producers with the shady flashback of Robin scooched up with a leg wide open, talking about doing this, like, when she was talking about that, with Wendy or whatever. But it was funny to me. I like a little callback. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, and I think to myself, it's funny watching Ashley pop up all over to everybody's house in this episode. It's like I don't really ever recall her showing up at nobody else's house like that in prior seasons. And it's also funny to see Karen and Ashley filming together and riding on up to the Chesapeake Bay together or wherever they're going. Because in my mind, I was just getting flashbacks of Karen and Ashley going at it when they was on that same trip into the south of France, and they was going at it in that van. I know, chime down in the chatterization if you remember what I'm talking about, because I know you do. Because Ashley had on a beret. Okay, Ashley had on a beret and Karen had bangs and she had a ponytail in her head. That's how I remember it. Anyway, we learned that Ray is not coming down until the following day because really, honestly, he was like, I can't deal with y'all too much. Wendy and Eddie arrived down to the house. All right, it looks nice. There's 7 bedrooms and some people will have to share, but she wants everybody all up in the same house. Oh, this is what I was going to say. I meant to say this earlier. We know as short as the day is long, okay, and I think I said I did finish the thought, but I want to go back a step further. I don't know why it is that Giselle and Robin trying to act like they're not going to come on this trip because they know they're going to get that money. They know they want to get that guap. So this posturing, acting like, oh girl, we not coming on the trip, it is all for nothing. And then they're going to miss one of the biggest fights of the season anyway. That's their fault. Anyway. Wendy and Eddie arrive, Mia and Gordon arrive, and they're looking for the valet. They're looking for the valet because they are not about to take their own luggage upstairs. Not even G. I was like, okay. He was like, I'm not taking this stuff up here. Eddie, come down here and get my bags. And then can you fold up my underwear too? But luckily, Wendy and Eddie take it all in stride. They decide to do shots to GVO, which stands for good vibes only, okay? I couldn't tell though, but here's the thing. I couldn't tell if they had settled on chill shots of vodka or chill shots of Patron. Regardless, let me let y'all know something in case you did not know. Chill shots of vodka are horrible, okay? Any type of vodka shot to me is horrible. Even when they try to mix it in those little limoncello shots, it's horrible. The best thing that you could do for a shot, and trust me, I know, I'm a shot connoisseur, is you want to do a chill shot of Patron with an orange slice. No, don't do this lime no more. Limes are basic. Limes are basic. We're not doing limes. We are doing orange slices, okay? It just totally takes away the taste of the tequila that you can barely taste because it's chilled, okay? Anyway, rabbit hole. So anyway, Mia describes Gordon on vacation as G, and it's nice to see, for me, I wrote in my notes, it's nice to see Wendy and Mia, really getting along the way they are. Then Mia relates that it's her mom's first time taking care of the kids, and Wendy is finally hearing Mia's story about her mom. And so, Wendy starts asking questions, and I think it really softens her to, you know, who Mia is, to get to know her a bit better like that in that setting. Karen and Ashley bond on the way to Chesapeake. Karen invites her to the ceremony, and she says she's inviting all the ladies. But in the flashback, it's the flashback of it all in this episode, because Karen and Ray are talking about that they're going to let Giselle come to this wedding. And then Ray says, I don't know who she's going to bring. The hairdresser? Knowing that's probably going to be the case. Anyway, they also wonder if Robin and Giselle are coming on the trip, and Robin is clipping toenails and Giselle is wandering around aimlessly in her kitchen, in her boot. All right, so Chris and Candiace arrive, and Mia greets them, and immediately Candiace goes in her confessional on Mia's feet, and her feet being so big that they're gonna crack the foundation of this house. Again with the feet. Now listen, you know, in Candiace's after show, she said that she likes to diversify her insults. I wish she would learn to do that in the moment while she's on the show, because it is literally a foot fetish going on in this situation, in this jamboree, and I don't understand it. Anyway, everybody toast to GVO. I don't know why they're doing that, because it's not going to be that. It's more like BVO, bad vibes only. Anyway, Gordon is clearly intoxicated at this point, and here are some fun facts that we learned. We learned that he doesn't like the strip clubs no more. Oh no. And if he does go to the strip club, he likes to get Mia's input on what type of woman they might want, okay? We also learned that he liked the white girls. Oh yes, he liked the Becky with the good hair. He liked the white girls. And for some reason, Candiace was looking a little annoyed by this. And I was thinking to myself, girl, why? You standing right there next to a white man. Anyway, and we also learned that Gordon likes to do a little humping around. I mean, he is humping and a pumping and a humping and a pumping. And the conversation just goes into some interesting place, because at one point, Candiace asked G if his humporization stick still works. Now, I'm sure she was implying that because he is 68 years old, that the man thing don't work no more. Now, this to me is borderline, this is crossing a space for me, because I understand you might want to shade Mia. Okay, I understand that, because y'all kind of got a little thing going on right now. But then too, it is the shading of the man to his face, when you don't even want Mia to ask questions about whether or not this man is getting paid for running your business, okay? So for me, I understand. Listen, if she felt offended by Mia asking that question, I think that's one thing. But she also need to be offended at her mama for talking to everybody about the situation as well. But I'm guessing she don't know that. But I'm also guessing that it wouldn't really matter regardless, because I think for Candiace, it is because Mia is the new girl that she should not be getting all of this shine or attention. That is one of the reasons why I think she is so bothered by this situation. And I think it's also because it seems as though Mia lets these things just oddly roll off her back. Mia seems in some respects oddly unfazed by the things that the women say or do to her, which makes her an interesting character to me. Now, I understand that there are a lot of things that she does that contradicts herself. Oh yes, she's a walking contradiction if there ever was one. But I told y'all, sometimes I like chaos and confusion, similar to Karen. But at the end of the day, I don't necessarily feel like I don't feel like the crime that Mia is committing is it doesn't fit the punishment that Candiace is leveling her way. But that's just me. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, but we're going to get into that a little bit more later. And the other thing is, wouldn't it have been interesting if, Mia had asked Chris if his thing still worked? Because I believe if she did, then Candiace would really have a conniption, okay? So that was just such an interesting little moment for me. Escala and Dre arrives, and G is like, who the heck is that? And then it's more GVO shots before they head into the kitchen. Now, Mia is also, not only is she unfazed by Candiace, she is also unfazed by drunk Gordon, okay? She is like, I'm gonna let him do what he do, because he gonna be him and he gonna be him. And at the end of the day, he's 68. He gonna do what he want to do, okay? It really probably don't matter what she say, because at a certain point in time, you know, a person get to a certain age, they gonna do whatever they want to do, and they're not gonna care about what nobody think about it, all right? That's what happens. Y'all remember Sophia from Golden Girls? I mean, Sophia would say whatever she wanted to say. Why? She felt like she had earned the right to say it. Because at this point in time, who gonna check her, boo? Okay? So anyway, now this was so odd. It wasn't odd, I guess. They get a call about a customized G-Wagon. You know, get it? G-Wagon. Okay. Anyway, apparently they are coming up on Mia and Gordon's 8th anniversary. So he got her a G-Wagon that she could customize. But when they get the phone call about it, he wants to put it on speakerphone and for the rest of the group to hear, which I'm sure to the rest of the group probably feels like a bit braggadocious. But I also think, A, he's been drinking, clearly. But I also think, B, sometimes I wouldn't have done it. I definitely wouldn't have done it in front of a group of people I ain't know like that. But I think he might have been feeling himself at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Because he done had about 18, 11 shots. So I don't know. I wouldn't have made that move right then and there, because I think that it will probably feed more into this notion that Mia and Jordan might be a little classist. And that's going to come up because that's something that Candiace is going to basically imply about her, amongst other things. Okay. So, but, then I think to myself, I don't know. You could look at it a couple of ways. Some people who do those types of things regularly may not look at it like bragging, but some people who don't do those things regularly might look at it as bragging. Let me know what y'all think about it in the comment section down below, because I think it's an interesting social dynamic type situation, and I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say about that. Meanwhile, this is where we get an interesting situation with Mia and G, where he is basically trying to stop her from talking so he can tell her exactly what is going on. And she's asking questions from the dealer. And he's like, well, listen, this is the only time I get to tell you to shut the F up or whatever. So Wendy hears this and she's like, well, if he's saying that in front of the group, then what is he saying at home? Okay. So then this is going to also lead to some chatter amongst the rest of the ladies that there may be something going on with Mia and G at home. But we'll get to that too in 1 second. Interestingly enough, G then asked Chris Bassett to get him a loan because he heard that white men can get better loans. Now, there have been some studies, I believe, that are out there where they talk about how, black people or minorities may have problems getting good interest rates on homes. And that may be because of the color of our skin versus our white counterparts who may get better interest rates because of their white skin. So listen, there is research behind this, but I don't know that I would have said it right then and there. Definitely don't know that I would have said it right then and there. Because at the end of the day, I do feel like, I just want to say that right then and there. That's just me. But listen, when you're drunk, you don't know what you say. Anyway, alone, Candiace and Escala need a timeout from G. Candiace equates G to Michael because they're older and have done the monogamy thing and the kids thing, and they don't need to be, cooped up in a monogamous relationship type situation. So they're implying that there's some swingerization going on there. Okay, Wendy arrives. And they all feel like it's maybe going to head a little bit left with G because he is getting drunker and drunker. Escala says that something isn't right, and Candiace says that it's giving daddy and daughter vibes. So then Mia walks up and asks if they were talking about her. Escala asks if G told her to shut the F up. And she says, yeah, what's wrong with that? Candiace says, well, you can do that because we do that too, but we do it at home. We don't do it in front of mixed company. And I will say, I'm on board with that too. Okay, I'm on board with that. Let's not do that in front of the people because it's going to make people uncomfortable. And it does. Wendy wants this to be a healing trip, and she's about to try to bring up the thing about Mia's mom. And they go down this rabbit hole of how they got there anyway, about the whole yo mama comment. And Mia actually is saying to, Candiace, I was trying to get to know your mom. She's someone I look up to and I want to be like one day. But, she still maintains her position about how she felt about, there being nobody there to really manage the music video shoot. But Candiace then starts to go in on Mia being found in a strip club, and Escala jumps in and it's 2-on-1. Candiace says, "You were found by a pimp, but I would never say those things." And it's like, no, Candiace, you have been saying those things about her literally throughout most of the season. Okay? To me, I'm like, how can you say you wouldn't say that when you've been talking up? Do I think that Mia was being shady when she asked her mom, Miss Dorothy, those questions? Yes. But Miss Dorothy was being equally as shady, and Miss Dorothy was not the only one. Giselle and Robin was chiming in on that thing too and asking questions as well. The only people that were not asking any questions at all were Wendy and Escala, okay? So it is interesting to me that, Candiace has so much smoke for Mia, but has nothing for Giselle and Robin, who are supposed to be her little buddies. I'm like, where is the outrage with them? Okay, where is that outrage? Tell me that. Okay. Anyway, they get back on the mama conversation, and Wendy asks if Mia's okay, and Candiace is like, "Well, why are you checking on her? Okay, I'm your friend, girl." And then Wendy says, "I don't like the whole gang up situation." And I'm sure Wendy is still got PTSD from what happened to her in Williamsburg when everybody was jumping on her and nobody came to her defense. Okay. Not even Candiace. And so Candiace is like, well, wait a minute, because Mia can handle it, because it was more than that ganging up on her when I had to stop them on her behalf. So I've stuck up for Mia in the past as well. They show a flashback of Candiace stopping them from doing it, but I can't say she stood up for her, but she did stop it from happening, okay? At this point, Candiace really begins dragging Mia for the absolute filth to her face, going off about her body, going off about her being a stripper. And to me, I gotta tell y'all this, I know a lot of people feel like, oh, Candiace, yeah, she went off and she did this and she did that and she did this and she did that. But I got to tell y'all, that's an easy read, okay? You have got to get to the Giselle and Karen level shade in order to really reach iconic status. Continuously calling someone a stripper, a night walker, or referencing their feet, these are things that are kind of like low-hanging fruit. Real shade and iconic shade is the type of thing where you almost, okay. I can't explain it any better than that. And I think as you get older, you start to really realize what real shade and what real reads are really all about. You know what I mean? Candiace is definitely a shade assassin, but it's sometimes low-hanging fruit. And so that's why it feels repetitive to me at this point. But that's just me. What do y'all think? Okay. Anyway, Karen and Ashley arrive. Mia gets a phone call and she walks out the room talking about she needs to go talk to her rich friends, not these broke bees. Wendy has gifts baskets for everybody, okay? And she has some Oni candles in there. Everybody gonna get their one wick tonight, okay? Sorry, Karen. It's time for room assignments, and it's interesting to me. Karen and Escala are asked to pick their rooms first. Now, this is interesting because, Candiace had put Wendy in that cottage down the hill, okay, in the woods. And so now Candiace is getting some payback because she is the last person that can pick a room. And I think that was actually apropos. I think it was perfect. I think it was great, okay? And I think it was great because like I said back then, I would have expected for Candiace to have put Wendy in the main house and some of the other girls in a not so good house, because Candiace actually brought Wendy onto the show, okay? I do it in quotations, all right? Anyway, so Ashley asks Mia what happens, and Mia calls Candiace mean. Candiace overhears this, and then they start to go at it. They start to go all the way in, and Escala joins in as well. And Candiace says something very interesting. She says, "You just got here and you barely made it in." And I think what she was meaning by that, and I'm just going to read the context clues because I have no idea, but it sounds to me like she's implying that A, you're a new girl, and B, we don't even know whether or not you're going to be the real new girl or not. And so you should be thankful that you're even allowed to be in this situation with the rest of us who have been here for a while. That's what I gathered from that comment. So anyway, Mia says, "Well, you should be proud of me for my accomplishments." No. At that point, Candiace tells Mia that she needs to go to therapy, okay? Because she is classist. Now, I don't know that somebody would really need to go to therapy because they're classist, but I don't know that Candiace is the person that needs to be telling anybody that they need to go to therapy for anything, okay? If anything, to me, I would feel like Candiace and Mia would probably have a lot more in common, because if Candiace gets her wealth from her mama, and then you're claiming, Candiace, if you're claiming that Mia gets her wealth from everything that G gave her, you're both kind of in the same situation if you want to look at it like that. So I just don't see how Candiace can be telling anybody that they need to go to therapy. No, ma'am. No, you can't do that. To me, that was interesting. But it's also interesting that, Candiace feels as though Mia puts everybody else down because of how much money Mia has. Now, in my mind, I'm not bothered by somebody else who walks around talking about themselves being a boss. I might notice that okay, you a boss. It don't bother me because I feel like I'm already a boss. So stuff like that don't really bother me. You know what I'm saying? But for some reason, Candiace is really triggered by this. And it really occurred to me in this episode that is her real issue with Mia. And that's what we really need to talk about, okay? But anyway, we can't talk about that right now because some more drama is about to go down. Mia then interestingly begins to, again, let it kind of roll off of her and says she has no problems with Candiace. So then Candiace proceeds to get more and more riled up and asks where Mia's pimp is. When Mia walks off dancing, asking and chanting about being the hoe and asking where her pimp is. So Candiace yells for G to tell Mia to shut the F up again. And I'm like, it's just some places you just don't go. I feel like that was already a little bit problematic at that moment. It's like when she starts to involve Mia's husband in the drama, that's when I feel like it starts to go to a place that it shouldn't really go. Because if nobody can ask or say anything to Chris, then you should not be doing that to anybody else's husband. That's how I feel about it. But that's just me again. Anyway, Candiace proceeds to get more and more riled up. And it's so interesting to me that as Mia begins to joke and kind of sort of play around with the things that Candiace is saying, it seems as though Candiace is getting more and more worked up. And I'm like, why is she so amped right now? And so they get back into this whole situation with it was the two of them facing off against each other. And she goes for the yo mama again. And at that point, Karen is like, had enough. And she's like, no, listen, that's not cool. And Candiace is like, no, you are not going to have her back. So before that even happened, when Mia had walked off, Candiace had thrown some food in Mia and Gordon's direction. Now, that's a problem. Two things that were very interesting in this episode, okay? The first thing is this. It's interesting to me that Candiace told Mia not to put her hand in her face. Because I told y'all before, you start moving your hands, and I start to getting kind of like, what you about to do, okay? But to take it a step further, ain't that what happened last year when Candiace put her hands in Monique's face? And then Mia was like, well, what you gonna do about it? Because I feel like Mia knew Candiace wasn't gonna do nothing about it. So Mia kind of knows it's all bark and no bite. But at the end of the day, it just seems so interesting to me how this has come full circle for Candiace, because now she is telling someone else not to put their hands in her face. She is the one throwing whatever she throws first, and then Mia gets fed up with the conversation, and she ends up tossing the lettuce at Candiace, and Candiace tosses it right back, and we end the episode. I just think that it's very interesting how this whole situation has played out between Mia and Candiace. And I'm wondering, why do you think Candiace is so triggered by Mia? Now, I agree. Listen, Mia is, like I said, she's a walking contradiction. She's chaos and confusion, okay? Now, that's the case. But I don't understand why Candiace is that bothered by her. I mean, she is extremely bothered by her. Let me know down in the chatterization what you guys think. This was an interesting episode for me. And of course, it seemed like it was an hour and 15 minutes. I couldn't tell because I was watching it on my YouTube TV. But I was like, this is a long episode. So anyway, that's the tea for Real Housewives of Potomac. Another bomb episode. The ladies delivered. Everybody delivered. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section down below. Hit that subscribe button, the notification bell button, and I'm going to catch you in the next video.